वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। आज का वीडियो कैपिटल गेन सीरीज का 26 नंबर का वीडियो है। इन दिस वीडियो वी आर गोइंग टू लर्न how a non-resident Indian, that is NRI, could save capital gains arising on sale of long-term capital assets by obtaining nil or lower TDS deduction certificate from AO, that is assessing officer, to minimize high incidence of instant cash outflow। ये वीडियो बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट होने वाली है क्योंकि इस वीडियो में हमें देखेंगे कि एक एनआरआई कैसे लोअर डिडक्शन टीडीएस सर्टिफिकेट को प्राप्त कर सकता है, उसके क्या क्या प्रोसीजर होते हैं, उसमें क्या क्या इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए हमको क्या क्या डॉक्यूमेंट इकट्ठे करने पड़ेंगे, इसके बारे में हम जानकारी दे रहे हैं। तो आप लोगों से कृपया ये अनुरोध है कि आप इस वीडियो के अंत तक बना रहें। तो चलिए हम वीडियो की शुरुआत करते हैं। जैसा कि हम जानते हैं, लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स आर टैक्स एट 20%, शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स आर टैक्स एट इनकम टैक्स स्लैब रेट applicable for NRI based on his total income which is taxable in India. When a NRI sells to resident buyer his long-term capital asset being residential house property in India, any long-term capital asset, and C, any long-term capital asset being land or building or both, then the buyer must deduct TDS at the rate of 20% from sales proceed while making payment to NRI seller. Here incidence of tax is 20% on sales proceeds and not on capital gain amount. B. TDS at the rate of 30% from sales proceed while making payment to NRI seller where capital asset is transferred is short-term capital assets. And for doing this, buyer must make application for 10 before deducting TDS. In case buyer is not having 10, deposit the TDS amount with income tax department through each challan by 7th day of the next month in which the payment was made to the NRI seller. File TDS return in next quarter after getting 10 and depositing TDS amount to the income tax department, and download form 16A and can give it to the seller after TDS return is filed. Claiming refund of TDS amount by a NRI, that is non-resident Indian. When a NRI sells his long-term capital asset, the tax outflow on account of TDS is very high, which a NRI can claim as refund by filing income tax return for relevant assessment year after availing exemption or deduction on capital gains. That is, under section 54, on sale of long-term capital asset being long-term residential house property and its investment as per the provision of this section. Under section 54F, on sale of any long-term capital assets and investment in residential house property as per provision of this section. Under section 54 EC, on sale of long-term capital assets being land or building or both and its investment in long-term specified asset as per the provision of these sections. In this way, refund will take a minimum of 6 months from the end of the previous year in which transactions is undertaken, and thus the large chunk of fund will be blocked for considerable length of period. So NRI seller must apply and obtain certificate of nil or lower deduction of tax at source. तो चलिए हम देखते हैं सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ नील और लोअर डिडक्शन ऑफ टैक्स एट सोर्स कैसे प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ नील और लोअर डिडक्शन ऑफ टैक्स एट सोर्स. When an NRI When a NRI calculates that TDS amount to be deducted is more than his tax liabilities, the seller must apply and obtain nil or lower deduction certificate before execution of sale agreement of the property. The silent features are as follows. An assessee must have PAN to apply for this certificate. An assessee can apply to the assessing officer to issue nil or lower TDS certificate. The application for nil or lower TDS certificate can be filled by NRI under section 195. The application for nil or lower TDS certificate can be filled in form number 13. Form number 13 can be filled online under digital signature or through electronic verification code, and for starting the procedure, visit the traces portal, that is https://contents.tdscpc.gov.in and log in. Then visit a statement and form, then request for form 13 from drop down and start filling information in form number 13 step by step. Once application complete in all respect is submitted to jurisdictional assessing officer, application shall be disposed of within 30 days from the end of the month in which such application is received. The assessing officer will review the documents or information submitted and may ask for further queries and documents before issuing certificate or rejecting the application. The copy of this certificate can be attached with the invoice issued to the deductor, and he can use this certificate justifying nil or lower deduction of tax. The certificate shall remain valid for such period as may be mentioned in the certificate unless it is cancelled by AO, that is assessing officer, before expiry of that period. Details or information required for submitting form number 13. Details regarding applicant: name as per PAN or TAN, PAN number, jurisdictional assessing officer details as per the last income tax return, details of range, circle, ward and AO number, details with respect to the nature or business or income carrying activity, details regarding contact person responsible for TDS. These details are important in case any information or document required for processing of the application. Details regarding income tax payments. Last 3 years income and current year's projection to be provided. Last 3 years tax payment details to be given. Details of tax already deducted or paid for the current financial year to be provided. Details of the tax demand outstanding before any income tax authority, including details of assessment year, amount outstanding, section, current status, whether any stay is granted to be filled. Last 3 years tax default details as reported in tax audit report, that is form number 3CD, to be provided. Also, reason for default and corrective action already taken should be given or mentioned. Details of pending scrutiny assessment or pending proceedings to be mentioned. Last 10-year details of the receipt, utilization, accumulation to be provided. In case applicant is a person referred to in Rule 28 AB sub Rule 1. 10 details if applicable. Details of cumulative tax likely to be foregone by issue of the certificates. Section of Income Tax Act under which the receipt is liable for TDS. Cumulative amount of projected receipt under this section. Number of parties from whom the receipt is expected. Rate of TDS applicable as per the Income Tax Act if no certificate is issued. Rate at which lower deduction certificate is requested for receipt covered under this section. Tax foregone, total tax foregone as per the certificate proposed. Tax foregone as per the certificate, if any, issued earlier during financial year to be filled if certificate for lower deduction issued earlier for the same financial year. Cumulative tax foregone. A deductor-wise detail with respect to the payment for which certificate is sought to be provided. Name of the deductor from whom payment is expected. Name should be same as appearing in 10 allotment letter. 10 number. Current correspondence address of the deductor. Email ID of the deductor. Expected receipt amount to be filled, TDS section under which receipt is covered. Documents to be submitted along with application 13. Previous 3 years ITR 6 or acknowledgement of filing income tax return to be provided. Previous 3 years computation of income and estimated computation of income for the current financial year. Previous 3 years balance sheet and profit and loss account or financial statements along with audit report wherever applicable with all schedules and annexures and projected profit and loss account for the current financial year. Estimated income statement for current financial year, audit report in form number 3CD, 3CA, 3CB or 10B, whichever is applicable for relevant financial years. Of filing income tax return to be provided. Previous 3 years computation of income and estimated computation of income for the current financial year. Previous 3 years balance sheet and profit and loss account or financial statements along with the audit report whether previous 3 years balance sheet and profit and loss account or financial statements along with audit report wherever applicable with all schedules and annexures and projected profit and loss account for the current financial year. Estimated income statement for current financial year, audit report in form number 3CD, 3CA, 3CB or 10B, whichever is applicable for relevant financial years. Previous 3 years financial previous 3 years previous 3 financial years assessment orders copy. PAN tax deduction account number of all persons responsible for paying and deducting TDS. Last 2 years ETDS return acknowledgement. Earlier TDS default. Any other document depending upon the nature of the income and complete chart showing all the payment made, the head of such expenses, for example contract payment, legal or professional fee, etc. and the section under which tax has been deducted by the applicant. ये वीडियो अब मैं यहीं समाप्त करता हूं। ये वीडियो अगर आपको अच्छी लगी हो तो इसको लाइक कीजिए, शेयर कीजिए, सब्सक्राइब कीजिए। थैंक यू वेरी मच।